Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is David Wojcik. I am the President and CEO of your Mississauga Board of Trade. It's our great pleasure to have you join us this afternoon for our virtual town hall with Minister Monte McNaughton, Minister of Labor, Training and Skills Development. Good news on the labor front this week as the unemployment numbers or employment numbers were increased last week, and I'm sure the minister will be happy to update us on this good news. Having Minister McNaughton with us today gives us an excellent opportunity to hear about the future of Ontario and the plans the province has for business as we move into the post-pandemic world. Before we officially introduce Minister McNaughton, I'd like to thank Trios College for their continued support for being our title sponsor for today's event, and also to say a thank you to Sestar College of Business, Health and Technology for their sponsorship and support as well. I'd also like to recognize a few of our local MPPs and elected officials that are with us today. Nina Tangri, Parliamentary Assistant to the Minister of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade, and MPP for Mississauga Streetsville. Nina Tangri, Deepak Anand, MPP for Mississauga Malton, Sharif Zimbabwe, Parliamentary Assistant to the Minister of Heritage, Sport, Culture and Tourism Industries, and MPP for Mississauga Erin Mills. Natalia Kuzendova, Parliamentary Assistant to the Minister of Francophone Affairs and MPP for Mississauga Centre. Rudy Cazzetto, Parliamentary Assistant to the President of the Treasury Board and MPP for Mississauga Lakeshore. And finally, Khalid Rashid, MPP, Mississauga East, Cooksville. So thank you all for joining us this afternoon. Now, I'd like to review our virtual event protocols for today's event. All attendees will remain on mute as we are recording this event. A Q&A session will occur after the minister addresses the audience. If you have a question, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen to enter your question. Monitoring today's event will be Brad Butt, our Vice President of Stakeholder and Government Relations, and he will be taking the discussion today, and he will be posing your questions to the minister once the minister gives his opening remarks. Questions are only visible to MBOT staff and panelists, and MBOT staff will review all the questions that are asked, and Brad will do his very, very best to get as many questions in front of the minister as possible. Now, to introduce the minister and to say a few words, please welcome the Chief Executive Officer of Trios College, Frank Gerenzer. Frank, take it away.
Thanks very much, David. With your introduction, it looks like we have all the big guns here with the MPPs throughout the Mississauga area. Well, it is my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker today. I have a special relationship with him because back in 2013, he put this Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal on my chest. So thank you for that, Monty, back when. It's been a while. Monte McNaughton is the MPP for Lambton, Kent, Middlesex. He's the Minister of Labor, Training and Skills Development. He's a politician, a community leader, and a former small business owner from Southwestern Ontario. Most of you would not know he's also a successful graduate from a private career college in London. He was elected to the provincial legislature in 2011 and is currently serving his third consecutive term as a member of provincial parliament. Monty took the oath of office as Ontario's Minister of Infrastructure in June 2018. As minister, he embarked on an ambitious consultation across Ontario on a previously neglected infrastructure needs. He introduced legislation to expand natural gas availability into rural parts of the province and tabled a plan to bring high-speed internet to underserved rural and remote communities. He also announced an investment to renovate the aging Massey Hall, Canada's most renowned concert hall. In June of 2019, Monte McNaughton was appointed the Minister of Labor. He immediately set up on a provincial listening tour, meeting with more than 150 labor leaders in less than 4 months. He quickly established worker safety as a top priority while also shepherding in WSIB rate reductions, freezing nonprofit rate increases, and introducing a new program that will reward Ontario's safest employers. In October 2019, his portfolio was expanded to include training and skills development, which is close to my heart. And here he and his team have updated the second career program quite recently to help more Ontarians get the skills that they need for their new careers. With no further ado, please join me in welcoming Minister Monte McNaughton.
Great. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Frank, so thank you so much for that introduction. And David, it's great to be with you and the Mississauga Board of Trade. To you and to Brad and to your board and staff, thank you for everything you're doing, in particular during the pandemic. I also want to say thanks to Frank and to Adrian at Trios and C-Star for hosting this and being the sponsor today. And I also want to give a shout out. I know, David, that you introduced them, but we really have an amazing team of representatives from Mississauga who play, as you already mentioned, a really important part in Premier Ford's government. So to Khalid, Natalia, Nina, Rudy, Deepak, and Sharif, thanks for being with us today and for everything you're doing, in particular, standing up for the businesses and all the workers in Mississauga, especially throughout this very challenging period. I'm really excited to be here today. This is my second time addressing the Mississauga Board of Trade. It's great to be here in this virtual town hall, and great to meet everyone again, and happy to take all of your questions afterwards. I want to, I guess, begin, David, by thanking and congratulating the Mississauga Board of Trade on 60 years of being the voice of business for one of Canada's largest and most vibrant communities. Your organization has truly been a leader in advocating for businesses and for providing a wide range of professional services. And I'm glad that the tradition continues here today. Your businesses, schools, and many aspects of all of your lives have clearly been deeply impacted by the pandemic, but all of you have truly stepped up. You're following public health guidelines and really taking health and safety seriously. And you're leading the way in helping the city rebound by creating the Mississauga Economic Recovery Group. It's a fantastic way of using local knowledge and experience to support your community. So congratulations and thanks for doing that. Our government is also focusing on the economic rebound in Ontario. There is light at the end of the tunnel as we roll out vaccines as quickly as possible. But we know that businesses, and in particular small businesses, need some help to stay afloat as the economy gradually and safely reopens. These shopkeepers and merchants are the lifeblood of all of our communities, and they have really felt the brunt of COVID-19. So we're doing everything possible to help them. To date, we have provided more than $1 billion in support through the Ontario Business Support Grant. These grants can be used for everything from employee wages to offsetting the cost of rent. And just so everybody knows, you still can apply for these grants until the end of this month. Another support that we launched a number of months ago is the Main Street Relief Grant, which provides up to $1,000 to help with the costs of personal protective equipment. At my ministry, we're taking a customer service approach to health and safety. Supports available include, and free of charge, webinars on health and safety requirements, a free online course on infection prevention and control, a dedicated toll-free number to answer questions from any small businesses, and hundreds of sector-specific workplace resources. In addition, inspectors are helping businesses understand and follow essential precautions, including physical distancing, masks, and having a safety plan in place. And our teams of inspectors are out there now answering any questions in person that small businesses may have. Our preference as a ministry is to help with education and guidance, and the response from businesses has really been very encouraging. And just so everyone knows, all of these resources and information is available at ontario.ca/COVID safety. And we put tips and videos and posters up free of charge in multiple languages, so all businesses and their workers can clearly understand what needs to be done right now. Aside from responding to current needs and the pandemic, our government is also preparing for the economic recovery. Spreading opportunity more widely and fairly is my mission, and nowhere is opportunity more available than in the skilled trades. The fact is, skilled tradespeople are retiring faster than we can replace them. Nearly 1 in 3 journey persons are now over the age of 55, while the average age of an apprentice here in Ontario is 29. That's why we're working hard to bring more young people into the skilled trades, where great jobs are going unfilled. Young people, their parents, guidance counselors need to know that a career in the trades is fulfilling and lucrative. For example, both the Peel District School Board and Dufferin Peel Catholic School Board are receiving funding through the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program for 700 students to experience the skilled trades. Earlier this month, I announced we're investing $47 million this year alone to hire more apprentices and improve their training. This includes a new incentive program, which we announced about 2 weeks ago, to give employers in all trades up to $4,000 per apprentice as they reach training and certification milestones. This is a great program and one that I hope all of you will consider and talk about with other local businesses. To make it easier for smaller employers to take on apprentices and complete their training, we also have a new group sponsorship grant. It offers employers up to $1 million per year for up to 3 years to come together to train and hire apprentices. It's a great way to share costs and the benefits of having an apprentice and give them a variety of opportunities to learn their craft. So the goal of this is to have employers come together and ensure that the apprentices get to experience the full scope of the trade, as well as to get their hours to complete their apprenticeship. These are just a couple of the ways that my ministry is working to help people find training for good in-demand jobs, and how we're also working to help employers, like many of you on this call today, find the skilled workers you need to grow your businesses. Trust me, I know it's been hard for many people in Mississauga, for employers and the workers, as it's been hard for everybody right across the province and across the country. All of you have worked hard to adapt and keep people safe, so we thank you for that. And I just want you to know that we're committed to helping you get through this. We know that without employers and businesses in thriving communities like Mississauga, we wouldn't have the prosperity we need to deal with emergencies like COVID-19. So I want to thank you for everything that you've done for your community, for the province of Ontario, and I look forward to hearing more what we can do as a government to continue to support your community and how we can work together to make our province more prosperous than ever. And with that, I look forward to the questions and discussion that's going to happen. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Minister McNaughton, again for joining us. The last time you joined members of the Mississauga Board of Trade, we were at the Mississauga Golf and Country Club, and we were at that time at least able to give you some lunch. So thank you for joining us today, despite the fact that we're not covering your lunch tab today, given the fact that we can't have those in-person events, unfortunately, right now. But we sincerely hope the next time you come back, we're able to host you again in Mississauga in person. So just to remind our audience, please use the Q&A button, which is in the middle of your screen, which you can place your questions. So I will certainly go to those questions, because we want to get as many of them from all of you joining us today as possible, and certainly we'll be posing some of our own. But Minister, I think what I'd like to do, just sort of theme-wise, is start some of the questions that I think are more related to the present COVID situation. And then I'd like to get into some of the questions that I think are broader and are irrespective of COVID, and some of the announcements that you've made and some of the initiatives your government is taking around skills development and training and apprenticeships and some of those extremely important programs. But I would like to start with something on COVID, and this has come from one of the members of our audience, but also has been an issue I know you've been dealing with. Can you give us an update on the issue of paid sick pay. Our city council has called for a program. We do know there is a federal program. Some people don't believe that program works particularly well. There's been lots of calls on your government to come forward with a provincial government paid sick leave program, particularly geared to precarious and hourly workers who are coming to work with symptoms or have possibly been exposed but are still in the workplace. Can you give us an update on what's going on around paid sick leave, and then what advice you would give to employers to tell to their employees about if they do believe that they may have COVID or been exposed and need to take time off and not come to work? What support mechanisms are there for them right now?
Yeah, thanks so much, Brad. As many will remember, we were the first jurisdiction to bring in a job-protected leave for workers. In fact, when we introduced legislation back last March, we were the first place, I believe, in all of North America to do that. So what we did, we brought in legislation that told any worker, if they're impacted by COVID-19, if they're in self-isolation, if they're in quarantine, if you're a mom or a dad that has to stay home and look after a son or a daughter because of the disruptions to the school system, you can't be fired for that. We also went further by eliminating the need for sick notes during COVID-19. Last summer, thanks to the Premier and all provincial and territorial leaders, we did come to an agreement with the federal government to bring in paid sick days for workers. So if any worker has to, apply for this program, there's a website set up through the federal government, and we've been really advocating to improve that program. It was a $1.1 billion agreement between the federal government and all provinces and territories, and there's still about $700 million left in that bank account. We made a decision, like every other province in Canada, not to duplicate that program. But what we've done is we've been advocating on behalf of workers. So, for example, when this program came out, it was only 2 weeks worth of paid sick days. Now they're up to 1 month, which is great, thanks to really our leadership in working with the federal government to voice the concerns that 2 weeks weren't going to be enough. We also know now that it takes 3 to 5 days for that sick pay to be directly deposited into workers' bank accounts. So the federal government really has stepped up on that front. And one other thing that I think is great for workers is workers now can apply more than once to the program. That was an issue when it was first launched. So we're continuing to work with our federal partners to improve the program, and I have to say they have, but we aren't going to duplicate the program. As I said, $700 million left in the bank, and as of last week, 245,000 workers are actually receiving the sick pay or have applied for those benefits.
Well, thank you very much for that. So, I think it's important advice to the employers out there to make sure they direct their employees to that federal program, so they know the assistance is there to get them through this time. And I do know the federal government recently made some changes to improve that program, lengthen the time of it, as well as you said, allow for multiple entries if required by an individual. So it's a much better program. I don't think it's satisfying what some advocates are asking for, but you're absolutely right when you say there is a program there that the federal government is funding and administering, and there is help for individuals to encourage them to stay home. One of our other viewers today has asked about this issue of on-site business vaccinations. So I know I have been involved, and I know others have been involved with our local public health unit, looking at what might be the possibility to get mobile vaccination units actually out to some of these larger businesses that have hundreds and hundreds of employees. You probably heard about the very disturbing situation at the Amazon plant in Brampton that was just announced over the weekend, where our local public health officer has actually ordered it closed for 14 days and everybody to self-isolate. I don't think there's a single business that wants to know they've had a breakout of COVID-19 in their workplace. And I think they'd be thrilled to host vaccination clinics if the clinic was able to come to their place of business. Do you have any updates on that? Maybe what the government is working on or looking at? I know you have a priority system for who's going to get vaccinations when, but we're really starting to be on a roll now with vaccines getting into the country, getting to the provinces, getting to regional public health units now and into people's arms. So is there any update on that? Is the government giving that any more consideration, that a larger business that might have hundreds and hundreds of employees could actually arrange to have their workers, their employees vaccinated on site?
Yeah, I mean, certainly, as you know, there's 34 public health units across the province. Each one of them is developing a local plan for that public health unit region, and doing a great job. I know in Peel, they've worked really hard, and you're right, needles are getting in arms, which is important. I guess, this still the biggest challenge, Brad, is the fact that we need more vaccines. And I saw the Premier at his press conference today was again, highlighting the need for these vaccines to get to the province and to all the other provinces, quite frankly. I think that's a really smart idea to have portable vaccination units. There's been lots of talk. I think the Premier mentioned that today as well at his press conference, but it still comes down to the amount of vaccines. I will just put a plug in as well. I know, people are tired of this pandemic. There's pandemic fatigue out there, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. We have the capacity to be running 24/7 doing vaccinations. We just need that supply. But I know, if we can get to April, there's talk of 1 million vaccinations per week in Ontario. And I think there'll be, a lot more opportunity to do mobile vaccination units. Just slightly, on this same topic, one of the things we've been doing through our ministry is the rapid testing on construction sites. And I know construction is booming in Mississauga and the entire Peel region. But we're able to do about 50,000 rapid tests per week on construction sites. And this also is really working well. And I know this is an approach that we want to use in distribution centers and warehouses and factories and food processing plants where we've seen a number of outbreaks. But just about 3 weeks ago, the Premier and I went to a construction job site in Toronto. And about 3 hours before we got there, there was a construction worker that went to the rapid testing booth, got tested, and was immediately diverted from the construction site and sent home. Well, his son also worked on the construction site, so he was able to be removed from that job site, and they both went home. And first they had to go to an assessment center, and then they went home to isolate until they got the results. But that testing is a key component in preventing COVID-19 from entering workplaces. So there's been a real push and focus on that as well, especially around distribution centers and warehouses where people work in close proximity.
Okay, and last question on COVID-19, then I want to get to some of the skills development apprenticeship work that you've been doing that's not necessarily COVID related. So you've been on a bit of a hiring spree. You've got hundreds of more inspectors you brought on board because you are doing blitzes. You have been out in businesses, certain business and sectors specifically. Can you give us an update on sort of how that program is working? And when the Ministry of Labor inspectors show up at a site, have you got any good advice for the employer, so how they can work with your staff? Your staff are doing a job. They're doing a job they're legislated to do. So we understand all of that, and Occupational Health and Safety Act and other provisions out there that they are charged to enforce. We understand all of that. But we like the idea that it's sort of public education first, work with the employer. This is new ground for a lot of businesses. They may not know what all the regulations and rules are. So can you let us know how the inspections are going? And then secondly, any helpful advice for employers, on the line today that might get a visit from one of your staff one day, and how they should go about working with your ministry?
Well, great question. And I want all the businesses on the line to know that we're here to help them. It's not very often when the government says we're here to help, but we really have dedicated teams of inspectors going out in every community across the province. We actually work in partnership with local public health units to determine the businesses that we visit. So for example, in February, we visited 208 warehouses and distribution centers in the Peel region, and really with a focus on, where workers are having coffee breaks and lunch breaks, and if they're, hopping in a vehicle and going from one warehouse to another or doing a delivery. This is where we're finding COVID transmission in workplaces. But we go in and we're there to educate employers first. I mean, obviously, if there are, infractions or complete neglect, I mean, there's always some bad actors out there, then we'll issue tickets on the spot or write up orders. But overwhelmingly, I can tell you, we've done about 42,000 investigations and inspections since COVID came to Ontario last March. And overwhelmingly, the majority of businesses are doing a good job. This is, as you mentioned, uncharted territory. Unprecedented times for businesses and workers alike. I really do encourage everyone, if they haven't been there yet, to go to ontario.ca/COVID safety. There's posters and tip sheets and videos. There's health and safety plans that they can basically borrow. There's a template there. I would say a number of things for businesses to particularly pay attention to is make sure you're pre-screening workers and customers going into places of business. So make sure they don't have any, COVID-19 symptoms, and ideally, have a staff member greeting other staff members coming in and asking them those questions like, have you traveled? Do you have a temperature? Do you have any of these symptoms? Secondly, and I just know this because I hear from our inspectors, make sure people are wearing masks and wearing them properly. We still see, the odd time going into different businesses where the mask will be pulled down, not over their mouth or covering their nose. So that's still something I would encourage you to make sure your managers and supervisors are watching the staff. And also, for example, if you're in retail, make sure customers are wearing them properly. And lastly, make sure you have a safety plan. There's COVID-19 safety plans on that website that I told you about. Just, do everything possible to be more vigilant today than at any point during this pandemic. I guess lastly, Brad, on this, we do this blitz where we go in the community, we visit businesses, really an education first approach. And then we do a follow-up visit just to make sure in those places where there were some non-compliance issues, we go back just to check that they're they've been resolved. But the good news out of all of this is when we go back a second time, we're seeing like a 90 or 95% improvement. So to all of those businesses, I know the majority of you are doing a good job. Just keep up the good work. And if you have questions, we're here to help.
Well, I can certainly say that the Ontario government site has excellent templates and lots of good material for businesses to use, as does the Region of Peel website, have some excellent material there that businesses can use. And I would highly recommend people on the line, if they haven't been on those sites yet, to visit them, because there's some outstanding material. So let's move a little away from COVID for now. Our first question coming from the audience on a non-COVID related issue is the Canada-Ontario Job Grant is coming to a 6-year end at the end of this month. Can you let us know what you've heard about what might be the next version of this? Just the person stating it's so important to keep our businesses well trained to overcome the next round of business challenges. So, Minister, do you know what the future is of? I think it was the federal government I served in that brought in the original Canada Ontario Job Grant. I assume it's been working well. Do you know what the future of that program is going to be?
Well, I can say stay tuned for the next couple of weeks when the province releases their budget. There's a huge focus on upskilling and retraining workers. I point to our December announcement. I was actually with Adrian Sharma out at Cestar in North York to announce our redesigned second career program, which is really focused on, during this first phase, helping those tens of thousands of workers that have been impacted by COVID-19 and have lost their jobs. I think particularly of those in the hospitality and tourism industry. So we're really focused on getting them into a short duration training. This would be training provided by our private career college partners, colleges and universities. All of this training is 12 months and under. And the province covers up to $28,000 per person going into this training. So that's one part, is the second career program funding. And we've also announced a skills development fund. We haven't announced the recipients yet, but it's a federal provincial funded program that has gone out to the market for innovative training ideas. Again, this focus of 12 months or under. It could be workers that are out of work. It could be workers that are working in manufacturing, but they need some help with upskilling their workers. I mean, all kinds of different innovative approaches to this. So there's lots coming on the federal provincial retraining and training programs, and we'll have more to share in a couple of weeks. But we've been rolling out a number of initiatives, including on the skilled trades, which I'm sure we're going to talk about soon.
We are. You'll probably agree with me that there are lots of excellent delivery mechanisms for apprenticeship training and for skills training and other type programs. There are the private career colleges. They play an important role. We have our universities and public colleges. We sometimes have other private training mechanisms. One of the questions is would your government support apprenticeship training? I assume it's not permitted now, or it isn't allowed to be delivered now. Would you support apprenticeship training offered by private career colleges?
Yeah, certainly. There's going to be a huge role that career colleges are going to play in training, including apprenticeship training. So looking forward to rolling more of those programs out. When it comes to the skilled trades, it's amazing. Many educators and parents and young people don't know that there's more than 144 different skilled trades to choose from here in Ontario. And there's a huge opportunity for different training providers to provide that apprenticeship training. And we're really going out to the market to receive these more innovative, accelerated programs to retrain workers and to upskill workers.
We have spent a fair bit of time talking about the skilled trade workers and the importance of getting more people, particularly younger people, that are going to be interested in pursuing the skilled trades as a career. But I know we've got a number of businesses that I've been in regular contact with that are having a huge problem in recruiting people for entry level or more unskilled related positions within their organizations. Has the government looked at any strategy around that, around supporting individuals that may not have a particular skill set, but would be very suitable to work in jobs? Is there a long-term plan to look at immigration as an example? You've got the provincial nominee program and others to bring some of the workers that may be necessary in Ontario that may not be in the skilled trades in particular.
Yeah, I remember, and I don't know if I highlighted this when I was at the luncheon with the Mississauga Board of Trade, but there was a study done by the Conference Board of Canada before the pandemic that said in Ontario, every single day, 200,000 jobs were going unfilled. These are, skilled workers, non-skilled workers, and it costs the economy about 24 or 25 billion dollars every single day. It's the number one issue, even during COVID-19, that I continue to hear from employers. I know the local MPPs continually, talk about stories in the Peel region. There was a survey done a number of weeks ago. 60% of factories in the province are looking for workers. So I would say on this front, immigration is going to play a key role in filling these jobs. The Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program falls under my ministry at Labor Training and Skills Development, and we've highlighted and have done some reforms to the system. There's going to be more coming in the months ahead, but really to attract workers from outside Canada that can fill these jobs, economic immigration, which is so important. And then secondly, it's to really find those people here in Ontario that can fill these jobs. And one of the programs and one of our focuses, I know in the Peel region, for example, is to, retrain and upskill people on OW and ODSP to get the right skills to find some of these jobs and get them off that, cycle of dependency on government and seek meaningful jobs. So it's an all hands on deck. I think it's mission critical. I know, apart from the health and safety focus during COVID-19, it's mission critical that we ensure that we have workers to fill these jobs and really help, with the economic recovery here in Ontario.
We have a question for you from Daniel Lau, who is the Skilled Trades Associate Dean from Sheridan College. And he's asking about your ministry's focus on micro-credentials, and you've implemented the Rapid Skills program last year. Sheridan's received funding under that program, and it's currently wrapping up, as they're calling it, a successful CNC Rapid Skills program to train in-demand CNC operators and targeting Mississauga manufacturers. Will there be another round of funding for Rapid Skills?
Well, Daniel, that's an easy one. Yes, we've seen a lot of success with this, and I'm really proud. I believe Ontario is leading the world when it comes to rapid skills and micro-credentials. And as you know, my colleague, Minister Ross Romano at colleges and universities has really been championing this as well. I have to put a plug in for Daniel and Sheridan. I was actually with the Premier and some other caucus colleagues. I think that was before the pandemic, to tour Sheridan and the skilled trades and apprenticeship. I think I actually tried welding with the Premier there, and it was a great facility and really changing the lives of many young people. So Daniel, to you and your team, keep up the great work.
I've got a question here about, and you are the minister who oversees the Workplace Safety and Insurance Board. Your government has certainly done a number of key things to keep the WSIB relevant in these times, to keep a freeze and in some cases reduction on WSIB premiums, which has been very well welcomed by the business community. What do you see as the impact of COVID-19 in relation to WSIB? Some people who have contracted COVID-19 have certainly talked about longer term health effects, which may prevent them from being able to work, and it may result in increasing WSIB claims. What has the WSIB, your ministry, and others been doing looking at the role of the WSIB in light of COVID-19?
Yeah, it's certainly something that I monitor almost on a daily basis. Just as an interesting, I guess, factoid, about 16,000, there's been 16,000 WSIB claims related to COVID-19. So of all the COVID cases in the province, 16,000 are related to workplaces. And I believe that 85 or 90% of all the claims have been accepted by the WSIB. I'm proud to say that the financial health of the organization is really, really strong. I won't have to remind people on this call that it wasn't that long ago when, all of us as employers and those in government were really concerned about the future viability of the WSIB, but the unfunded liability was paid off 10 years in advance, thanks to businesses really stepping up on the health and safety side and paying more expensive premiums. We were able to deliver more than $2 billion worth of reductions in those premiums. But I'm proud to say that it's going to be a sustainable system, literally for generations of workers to come. One of the first moves we did during the pandemic was to defer WSIB premiums for all businesses. And even with those measures and reducing premiums, the organization has a really strong financial sheet, and I'm really confident as we come out of the pandemic.
Do you have any statistics on the increase in young adults going into various trades because of the initiatives that you've brought in place? Are we seeing more young people attracted to and moving into taking on the training and then entering into the skilled trades as a result of all the promotion, the work, and all the other things that you've done?
Yeah, I mean, certainly our government and our ministry has made this a real focus. There's a heavy investment. I'm always ensuring that there's a return on investment. I can tell you that we formed government in June of 2018, and between 2018 and 2019, there was quite an increase in apprenticeship registrations. Remember, one of the first things we did was change that ratio of journey persons to apprentices on job sites, which made a real big difference. COVID-19 has, certainly disrupted things last year, and I don't have the data yet on registrations and where we're at there, but we are trending in the right direction. I can tell you that I heard this morning that women in the trades is increasing, at-risk community members, those registrations are increasing. So our programs that are tailored to, for example, underprivileged communities is having an impact. I remember a couple of years ago, our ministry did some research on millennials, and we went out and we did focus groups with millennials. We did polling, and we had an education system built in Ontario where the government of all different stripes for the last 20 or 30 years thought that young people made the decision in grade 12, whether to go into the trades or whatever career path. But we now know, after doing this research, they're making decisions in grade 7 and 8. That's why we're going to be bringing in a number of education reforms to begin skilled trades as early as grade 1. I mean, obviously it'll be, it might be building buildings out of Lego, but we're going to introduce concepts in grade 1. Starting in September, if schools are running in a more normal way, I've hired a number of recruiters to go into high schools across the provinces to recruit young people into the trades to really compete with those university recruiters that go in to high schools. We're going to begin having high school students get their level 1 apprenticeship hours in high school. So there's a lot of exciting things coming. One of the things I continually hear from young people, they'll say to me, I know to become a lawyer, I know to become a teacher, but I have no idea how to become an electrician or an iron worker or a boiler maker. And that's what we have to change. We've got to ensure that people know that there's more than 144 skilled trades to choose from. We need them to know that in many cases, they can become their own boss. They can make more than $100,000 per year with pension and benefits, and they never have to worry about a job, because when you have a trade, you have a job for life. So lots of exciting things happening on this front.
One of the areas where we know we already have, and I think we will continue to have a very deep job shortage, is going to be personal support workers and workers generally in healthcare. Your government's made a couple of announcements recently around support for training of PSWs. I realize that's not maybe your ministry, it's more Minister Romano's, but having said that, I'm sure you guys are all working together. How can we get more people that will enter to be trained to be personal support workers domestically? And have you given any thought to opening up the provincial nominee program to target individuals who could come to Canada under that program and work as personal service workers?
Yeah, so on the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program, we have prioritized healthcare workers from outside of Canada to fill these jobs. It's an all hands on deck mission to get more young people or more people to become PSWs. We made an announcement through our ministry a couple of weeks ago of 500 PSW positions for training. And then there was the big one through Dr. Fullerton and Minister Romano of about 8,000 or 9,000 training spots for PSWs. One of the big focuses of the Second Career Program is to really go out and recruit people that lost their jobs through COVID-19. So again, those people in hospitality or tourism or those sectors of the economy that were really hard hit, to quickly get them into a short duration training to become PSWs. One of the programs that we announced in the Niagara region, and this one just sticks out to me, we funded about 100 spots for PSWs for training. It was a 40 or 44 week training program. And in week one, 98% of them had job offers. So we know these are, in-demand jobs, important jobs, meaningful jobs. One success story from the Second Career Program, there was a gentleman, Roger, who worked at General Motors Oshawa for 8 or 9 years. When GM Oshawa closed, thankfully it's going to reopen again at some point in the near future, but he lost his job. He qualified for the Second Career funding, and at 56 years of age, he's now working in a long-term care home. So it's to quickly, identify those people who want to become PSWs, get them in a short duration training, and get them a job close to home. And I guess just lastly on this one, Brad, the private career colleges and the public colleges are going to play a real key role in filling these jobs. There's lots of training programs that are going to be launched around this because our government committed to hiring 27,000 more PSWs.
I think we've got time for 2 more questions from our chat box. So the first one is from Janet Morrison from Sheridan College, and she asks, can you comment further on the unique role you see for Ontario's public colleges like Sheridan in pandemic recovery?
Colleges are going to play a pivotal role in getting Ontario back on track. I mean, I think of our own ministry when it comes to apprenticeship training. I mean, public colleges are delivering 80% at least of the apprenticeship training, and that will continue. The Second Career Program, obviously colleges are retraining a number of workers, thousands of workers across the province. I think colleges are in a really good spot when it comes to the economic recovery in the province because they are, supportive of the micro-credentialing, the rapid skills, this short duration training. Colleges have been able to pivot to deliver these types of programs. So I work really, really closely with Colleges Ontario, and I'm from Southwestern Ontario, and Lambton and Fanshawe and St. Clair certainly play a huge part in upskilling and retraining our workers and students. So I see, really exciting opportunities for our colleges.
And our last question has to do with newcomers. And of course, you can imagine in Peel Region, Mississauga, the thousands of newcomers that we have every year coming to our region. So the questioner asked, can you speak to your goals and vision to help newcomers adapt to Ontario workplaces?
Yeah, great, and really important question. I mean, my focus is to fill these jobs that's going unfilled, and as I said earlier, I think these are great opportunities for new Canadians, and it's important for every community that we fill these jobs. I've long said and have long believed that new Canadians make all of our communities stronger and more vibrant, and diversity is a strength, not only for the Peel region, but everywhere across the province. I think again of Southwestern Ontario, our ministry and our government launched a pilot project to bring new Canadians and immigrants to rural Ontario to fill these jobs that are going unfilled. So this is a real priority. I work closely with the federal minister, Marco Mendicino, on always improving the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program. One of the requests we have is that we want a larger allotment. In fact, about a year ago, the number that Ontario actually managed was only about 6,700 people. We want to more than double that by 2022 to 14,000 immigrants. So that's our ask of the federal government. If anyone on this call could put a plug in for us. Provinces are really in a good position, in a unique position, because we know the local labor needs. And I guess on that note, in closing, I am really excited. We worked with workforce development agencies across the province, including in the Peel region, and we're going to be announcing our workforce development action plan, which will really help us ensure that we know the needs of every single community and what jobs need to be filled.
Well, thank you very much, Minister. And I want to thank everyone watching today for letting me be your Oprah Winfrey today. I don't know if it was as good an interview as she had last week with some other pretty important people, but it was great to have you with us today, Minister McNaughton. I'd like to turn it over, though, to Adrian Sharma, who's the school director of Cestar College of Business, Health and Technology, to properly thank the minister. Adrian?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adrian Sharma. I'm also the chair of Career Colleges Ontario. While it's not my first time attending such an event with the minister, I'm always struck by his passion and progress made toward building a skilled workforce in Ontario. Thank you, Minister, for that. Minister, many of us in this room share your passion for the skilled trades, and that makes my job much easier today. In fact, career colleges are already playing a vital role in training skilled workers in local communities, particularly in Ontario's remote and northern regions. Nearly 700 career colleges offer local skilled training in communities across the province, and our graduates are represented in nearly every field Ontarians depend on. As an example, 2/3 of PSWs trained this year graduated from a career college. They are our skilled workers, our frontline workers, our welders, our office administrators, our pilots, dental assistants, healthcare workers, and more. I'd like to say that you can't go 2 weeks without working with a career college graduate. There are approximately 45,000 career college students in Ontario. They are primarily mature students with an average age of 34 years of age. Nearly 70% of them are women seeking to start a new career, many for the first time. We are proud to support these students and their needs, but we also recognize the gravity of the challenges that come with preparing these students for the road ahead. Our value and message to Ontarians, now more than ever, is clear. We're here for you and their future. We're here to help you rebuild. Thank you. I'll bring it back to you, David.
Thank you very much, Adrian, and thank you again, Minister. We want to, of course, thank Trios College for being our title sponsor today, and Cestar College of Business, Health and Technology for also sponsoring today's event. And of course, again, a very special thank you to Minister McNaughton for taking time out of an extremely busy schedule these days to join us here at the Mississauga Board of Trade. Just a couple of housekeeping items and some events coming up for our audience that you may be interested in. March the 26th, we're actually hosting a town hall with all 6 of our Mississauga MPPs. I'm sure we'll be talking about these and other issues with them, so please join us. And April 9th, we'll be doing a town hall with our federal Mississauga MPs. Maybe Minister McNaughton will remember that issue that you raised about the Ontario nominee program, and we'll put that to our MPs at that time. March 23rd, we're hosting a town hall with our Chief of Police and our Chief of the Fire Services together at the same time, talking about the role of their departments in servicing the business community. On April 15th, MBOT has its 2020 Virtual Business Awards of Excellence. We'll be recognizing 120 nominees in 11 categories. April 22nd, please join us for the next From the Corner Office series, where we have Jeff Leger, the president of Shoppers Drug Mart. And lastly, more information to come. We will be having a golf tournament this year. Looks like July the 12th. So mark that on your calendars now. To be great to be able to be outside and see everybody, and hopefully we're all in a better situation by then. I'm not sure if our president, David Wojcik, is still on the line, if he wanted to say a special thank you to the minister as well, and then we're going to sign off. So over to David.
Well, thanks, Brad. And yes, thank you, Minister, for joining us today. Always great to hear from you. It's great to understand more about what your plans are for the future of Ontario and for the future of the businesses that we represent right here in Mississauga. So thanks to you for being with us. Thanks to our sponsors, Trios College and Cestar. And thanks to each and every one of our attendees today for joining us. So we'll see you next time at our next town hall. And until then, we wish you continued success in your business.